the science.
Suffice it that the blood of 1,000 men and women was spilled within these walls. Limbs twisted and broken, eyes gouged from bloody sockets, flesh burned black.
Please. No way to death. In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes. What you have to realize is that we're all just a mouse that a cat has by the tail.
The number you have reached, 911, has been changed to a non-published number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is Monday, April 16th, 2007.
What's up, guys? This is Jay Scott.
This is Trent Lackey. Welcome to World of the Unexplained.
Tonight we've got a very special show for you. We have Dannion Brinkley. For those of you that don't know him, it was actually a... wow, we've already got a caller. That's crazy. Okay, it's weird. Anyway, if you go to Dannion.com, that's Dannion.com, you can see his website there. For those of you that don't know about him, he had a near-death experience in 1975, and he returned with exceptional gifts. And we're going to talk about this, and we're going to talk about some of his hospice work and all kinds of different things about what he saw and what he does now. He's got some books out and some upcoming events and tours that we're going to talk about too. So without further ado, Mr. Dannion Brinkley, how are you tonight? Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Well, it's always nice to explore conservative paranormalism.
It's pretty weird. It's pretty weird.
Conservative paranormalism.
We talk about all kinds of things, including that Imus thing. I'm still upset and fired up about that whole situation.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's time that somebody did that. I mean, I don't know which side you guys are taking in it, but it took a white man to get all of us to pay attention to language that has crossed multi-mediums as a way to relate to people.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think if Imus is held to that standard, then so should people like Al Sharpton. And I think that's where we have a double standard a bit. You know, I mean...
Well, all the way across the board to rap music, too.
Oh, I agree. And Chris Rock and comedy acts like that. I mean, it's... You know, if you're gonna point out one person, then you should equally point that finger and not just pick on one guy. But you know, hey, that's neither here or there. Welcome to the show.
Yeah,
I want to talk.
It's nice to get you stirred up right off the bat.
I want to talk about what happened to you in 1975.
Well, it was September the 17th at 7:05 p.m. 1975. You know, I grew up in the Deep South. I'm from Aiken, South Carolina.
Amen, brother. We're in North Carolina here.
Yay! And I grew up in the concepts that most of us grew up in the South that deal with our religious aspects, and I didn't really have I was kind of drifting along at that time. And I grew up pretty tough. You know, I was a bad boy, sports. Played sports, played football, ran track, and I had a problem at all. I never was frustrated my entire life because I dealt with it with an overhand left and a right uppercut. So my life was really structured around dealing with any issue that came before me. At the moment it occurred, I knocked it out. Then I discovered the United States Marine Corps, where it got even better. I could shoot you.
Oh, Lord.
Encouraging that.
I could shoot you, and it kept going. And the behavior pattern kept being reinforced, that the more damage I could do, the better I was either liked or appreciated or thought of or blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. Well, by the time 1975 had come along, I had being a jerk down to an art form. You know, I was a master at it, and I was just talking on the telephone. And lightning came down the phone line. It hit me in the side of the head. It went down my spine. It welded the nails of the heels of my shoes to the nails in the floor.
Good gosh.
Threw me in the air. suspended me in the air, then threw me back down on the bed. Dead for 28 minutes.
Wow.
Completely paralyzed for 6 days, partially paralyzed for 7 months. Took me 2 years to learn to walk and feed myself.
Now, was the movie that came out, I think it was called Something by the Light, Touched by the Light?
Yeah, Saved by the Light.
Saved by the Light. Okay, I saw that movie probably about 6 months ago, and I thought it was a really appealing movie, and we saw Raymond Moody. We just had him on a few weeks ago, and we talked about you briefly there.
The main man.
Oh, yeah. And I asked him, I said, Ray, I said, is that well, actually, I said Dr. Moody. I said, is that...
Never call him Ray.
Yeah, I said, is that an accurate representation of you? He's like, oh, no, no. And I want to ask you, did the bad boy that movie make you out? Was that, I mean, because he was a pretty bad guy.
Well, just measure that times 1,000.
Oh my gosh, you were a mean SOB.
But there's no question. That's exactly. I don't hide from it. This is what I was, and I was tough. Raymond's always trying to be protective of me because if it hadn't been for Raymond Moody, he saved my life. Twice in my life, it's been Raymond who saved it.
Really?
And I'll tell you why. Because I never heard of the near-death experience.
Uh-huh.
And I wouldn't have believed it if anybody had told it to me. Or I might have put you through it just to see what you had to say if I had heard it.
I got you.
Well, let's go ahead and let you have one. And let's see what happens.
Exactly. So what did you see when you were dead for those 28 minutes?
But it happened to me, guys, and so all of a sudden I'm burning and I'm on fire. I cannot move. I do not know what had happened to me.
Uh-huh.
And then the pain was so great. Then all of a sudden I'm out of my body. And such a relief comes. I'm not burning. I'm not on fire. I can see. And I can look around and see the room. I could see me lying across the bed. I could hear my wife down the hall saying lightning struck really close. And I thought, yeah.
Good call.
Yeah. Boy, you married me a rocket scientist. Okay. But I was watching everything that was around me, and it was amazing how really live and vibrant everything is when you're dead. It's so alive and it's so vibrant and it illuminates in these beautiful colors. And Sandy came down the hall, and the guy on the other end of the phone, which was less than a mile away, he came over, and I watched them trying to work on me, and Tommy trying to revive me, and Sandy frantic as I watched this interaction. But what I was the most intrigued by was that I could see through them. And what they were brilliant, beautiful colors. They were these illuminating, beautiful beings. And as Sandy would talk to Tommy, her energy would intermingle with his, and he would glow brighter. And then he would speak back, and his would intermingle with her, and it was this beautiful flow of these colors that I have never seen. Colors that are more brilliant and bright and lucid and translucent than I'd ever seen. And I watched this. I wasn't really interested so much in the life, and I understand it now. I wasn't so much interested in the life that had just finished because it was over. It did not. I had separated from it, and the nature of a spiritual being going from a physical world, physical mental world to a spiritual emotional world is a very great distance spanned, a great distance of consciousness that you span when you get there. So I watched them load me in the ambulance, and it was raining, and I was watching how light refracted through raindrops. Now, I know I should be more interested in that I'm dead, but I wasn't. And I was watching how light reflected through raindrops, and the ambulance had the red lights going on, and watching how the raindrops reflected that and refracted through that. And they put me in the ambulance, so I figured I'd better go with them. And I went into the ambulance, and I was behind the paramedic working on me. And he was working pretty frantically, and I was just observing what was going on in the ambulance. And as he was working on me, all of a sudden my body jerked. And then he said, I'm gone. He said, he's gone. He's gone. And I thought, gone where? I'm here.
Yeah.
He's here. the blob is here, which was me, and then this tunnel begins to form. I can see this spinning, this moving, whether I was moving or not. Then I heard these series of chimes, these tones like frequency elevation, not like a touch tone phone, but like you would play a xylophone, those tones. Then I began to move down this tunnel, came into this place of bright, brilliant, beautiful light. And it was the most amazing light because everything had burnt my eyes and hurt my eyes because there was a ball of fire in the room, and I had to wear welder's glasses for like 2 years because it had burnt my eyes so bad, and walk with crutches, and I lost like 60 pounds. And this light did not hurt my eyes. This being was there, this radiant, beautiful being. And, you know, throughout history, people call him Buddha, Allah, Muhammad, Jesus, God. But that being is really you. I mean, you've only separated a certain part of your consciousness to live in the human physical life, that concept that we call life here.
Well, I'd have to disagree with you on that, Dannion, but that's okay. Keep going. I'm listening.
Well, if it had been 25 years ago, I'd have popped a cap in you and just got to come back to tell this story. But you got to remember this. Now, let me put this in a focal point.
Okay.
I've been struck by lightning, which led to getting struck by lightning again 3 years later.
I thought you had been hit twice.
Which led to open heart surgery.
Wow.
Which led to brain surgery. Wow. They gave me 6 months to live during open heart surgery because of complications of being struck by lightning. When I had brain surgery, they gave me an 8% chance of survival. I went into brain surgery.
An 8% chance?
I spent 41 hours in recovery, and then I had a massive grand mal seizure, went into cardiac arrest, and they put me in the neurocardiac ward.
Wow.
So I have, in the last 32 years, had 3 major operations, and I've had 5 operations, 3 major, but I've had 3 near-death experiences. And what happened to me is I became a hospice volunteer, and I have more than 25,000 hours at the bedside of the dying, and I've been with 362 people taking their last breath, and more than 1,500 people within hours and minutes of their last breath.
Wow.
And I have studied the near-death experience one-on-one, side-by-side, with people from every walk of life, and you're talking thousands of these people studying these cases. So when I hear, like what you just said, that you differ with me, I support that 100%. But you have to take into consideration who you're talking to. Because you're talking to somebody who spent 32 years studying it, holding the person's hand when they're resuscitated. And I have been with probably 800 people who've been resuscitated and had some form of the near-death experience. So I have a point of comparison to look at it from. Now I have 32 years of studying it. Because what I had to do was understand what happened to me. I don't have to have faith in whether there's a life after death. I know it. I don't have to believe that there is a heaven because I've seen it. What I had to do was understand in a physical electrical world, because our body's electrical chemical, and in a physical world, how this procedure happens. How does it happen? And so for 32 years now I've studied it.
Now, Danion, you know, hospice is a wonderful thing. I know my grandmother died of cancer a few years ago, and
passed from cancer.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But it
part
was,
of her that died is the part she's the most happiest about.
I agree with that. You know, but it was
never get out of this body.
It's such a horrible thing for family members to deal with the loss of a loved one, and I tell you what, hospice is probably one of the best, the best care. The caring people, they have the best staff, the friendliest people that I've ever come across to help you through that situation. They really do a wonderful job, and it's really.
We have to. What I love about hospice, because I've probably, other than Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and I have probably helped as much to bring hospice to the forefront in palliative and end-of-life care as anybody, because we're so afraid of death. And my whole mission in life is to reduce the fear of death and to tell everybody there is a life after this one. And then after that, they can construct whatever patterns, beliefs, and hopes and systems that they choose to about it, but that it's really there. So once I came through this tunnel, and I was met by this being, and what this being feels like is this. Do you know what it's like when you get caught by your granddad as opposed to your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know you're going to get caught, but you're going to get away with it.
Oh, yeah.
If your dad catches, he's going to beat the hang out of you. And if your granddad catches, you might get a nickel out the thing if you promise you won't do it again.
That's true.
Yeah.
But it's a feeling like that, There is no language from over there that can be expressed over here.
I was talking to Dr. Moody about the same thing, and he says now he's trying a new breakthrough where he's trying to teach people a new way to be able to learn how to describe these experiences in a different way because they are so indescribable with words. Do you find that you have that challenge on your hands sometime when you try to describe it?
Well, after 32 years of it, and I think what made me one of those early people, because I was there when Raymond gave it its name. Raymond was in the medical Raymond was going through medical school at the Medical College of Georgia where this happened to me.
Okay.
And so I knew Raymond from the very beginning. And when he first wrote his first book, Raymond and I have been friends that long. And it's hard to find language. And now that they've created, when I first had this experience, because it was so real. And it's like everyone else, what they go through is your family wants it to just go away. And if you talk to your doctor, he tells you that's something you need to talk to your psychiatrist, your minister about.
Yeah.
You talk to your minister, he tells you that's something you need to talk to your doctor about. They both give you a psychiatrist card. So, but I didn't have any problems with it. I lay there in a bed paralyzed, and I could not get it off my mind because I needed to know what it was. I didn't have like in conceptual religious experience because I didn't have a religious framework to put it in. It was just this experience. And one thing in the early years with Raymond was people who we would meet would have near-death experiences. I was like the translator. As they would struggle to find language and words and things to say, I could say, okay, I know what that is. It's like this. And they'd say, yeah, that's better, that's better. So I've kind of, in 30 years, I've really listened to other people's terms and listened to how they structure the language and look at what we're trying to understand. First, this is an event that truly happens. Second, this is a process that was created for someone, by someone who truly loves us, in a love we have no ability on the earth to understand except maybe in the Greek term of agape, all-consuming love, and that it is designed around that we are divine, beautiful, magnificent spiritual beings. Now, once you can put that into context, that you are a great, powerful, mighty spiritual being, you have dignity, you have direction, and you have purpose. Once you have that as the framework, understanding the near-death experience becomes a lot less difficult than trying to understand it from a mental, physical perspective, dealing with a religious connotation about who you are and what your identity is.
Oh, so you're no longer afraid of physical human death?
It never happens. The physical passes away, which is the part you like the best. The very moment you get out of this body, the very moment that you get out of it, there is no way anybody could have talked me into getting back in it. No one ever asked me. They just keep sending me back. Because I always kept telling everybody I wanted to be cremated after the first near-death experience, and I want to be cremated within 3 minutes after I'm declared dead, because if they're going to at least send me back, I could be on a jar on somebody's mantle talking, and I figured if you cremated me, there's no way you could send me back. That world over there, in Genesis it says there are 7 heavens. That world over there is the most wondrous, magnificent place. So what I had to try to do is, let me finish the story, and then what happened was, as this being drew closer to me, I started feeling all these childlike emotions.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, I had a panoramic life review, and that's a Danion term. But, you have the Great Book of Judgment. You have where all things are written. You have the Akashic record. And we've heard through these things throughout mythologies, throughout history. Well, that really happens because you will see your entire life pass before you in a 360-degree panorama.
Even the bad stuff.
Excuse me?
Even the bad stuff?
Yeah, you see it all.
Oh, great.
Oh, I did it. This hasn't even got good to you yet, son. Then you watch your life pass before you. You know how many hairs was in the nose of the doctor that took you out of your mother.
Oh, God.
You know every label, every can. You know everything that you saw from the very time you opened your eyes. Then you watch it from a second-person point of view, as if you were your best friend. You look at yourself and you say, whoa, was that stupid? Whoa, God, what was I thinking then? Oh, my God. Whoa, Dan, that was pretty cool. And then you literally become every person that you've ever encountered, and you feel the direct results of your interaction between you and everyone you've met. So as you were framing the bad stuff, you're going to be every person that you ever encounter. And you're going to feel the direct results of your interaction between you and that person. And then comes the judgment. And who judges you? You do. And this is another Danionism because I've tried to find quantitative language to frame this in so people can understand it instead of it just be me talking. How you judge the life, the whole hologram, then watch it from a second-person point of view, and then literally being every person that you've ever encountered, is this. If God couldn't come today, God sent you. In the life you just reviewed, what difference does God make? And right there is the most important point the near-death experience gives anybody. Because that's the only thing from over there you can bring back over here and put it directly into your life. That is what's changed my life. It's what's affected my life because I've been through 3 of these near-death experiences, 3 panoramic life reviews.
Wow.
And I've watched the distance that I've traveled, and I'm 57 years old. I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. And from looking at this and watching people and studying people for 32 years, I mean, literally at the bedside, the last person I died with was a week ago tomorrow. So, I mean, that's pretty hot off the press. And from watching it from that point, if your listeners get a hold to this point, that you're going to be everybody. You're going to be them. So people say, Danion, why did you change? Well, I got tired of hitting myself in the face.
the golden rule, do unto others.
Yeah, I got tired of it. And so I decided, knowing that this is what I look forward to as I journey to the other side each time, why not make it the best I could ever make it? So I started to become a hospice volunteer. Because think about this. If you've been lying in a hospital bed in the VA and you fought in World War II, and no one's come to see you in 5 years, and I walk in that room and I sit down and I celebrate that person's life, and I let them talk and I listen, and then I come back and see them again, then when my life passes before me, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to feel the joy that that person felt when I came. That means if God couldn't come today and God sent me, and I'm sitting at that bedside, what difference did God make? I'm going to get a chance to feel what they feel when the divine presence, I don't feel it while I'm here on this side, but I know I'm going to feel it when I'm over there because somebody really cared. And this is the greatest lesson, guys. I mean, the rest of the stuff are events and patterns and things that occur within the framework of the near-death experience. And what happens as we view life, as we look at the value of life, what we do wrong in death, and what we have to look forward to the next side.
Well, Danion, I'm going to stop you right there. We're going to take our first break. We're going to open the phone lines, 1-877-722-7382. That's 877.
Remember when paranormal radio used to be open to New Age ideas and every possible form of spiritual enlightenment?
Is religion based on the understanding of consciousness, the understanding of nature, in particular fertility laws.
To my spirit guides are those who have passed over. And, you know, I've always been able to see colors around people, which I've known now to be called auras.
Maybe coming to the close of one kind of psychic life, and I very much believe that this was what the Maya were really trying to talk about.
Well, we're not putting up with that. World of the Unexplained. Conservative paranormal talk. Big on God. Big on guns. With your hosts Jay Scott and Trent Lackey. Heard Mondays, live from 8 to 10 Eastern on Planet Paranormal Radio.
And we're back. World of the Unexplained. We got Dannion Brinkley out tonight. Listen, guys, he's got some interesting stuff to say, so call in 1-877-722-7382 or 1-877-SCARE-YOU2.
And the website is www.dannion.com. That's DANNION.com. That's his official website.
And the local number is 336-996-1596. Scott, you had some questions.
Yeah, I want to ask two questions. First of all, I want to know what is heaven like. I think everybody's probably listening, wanting to know what to put that into words. And secondly, I wanted to know. I'll just let you answer that one first, and then I'll go into my ghost question.
Well, we'll get back to Raymond's point. There are no words. Unless you stop right now and remember, you are a great, powerful, mighty, spiritual being, born out of divinity, with dignity, direction, and purpose. This is who you are, period. You cannot frame it, but let's just say for conversational point of view, when you lift out of your body and you move down that tunnel and you come into these great, beautiful places of light, you see colors that have never yet been seen on the earth. You feel the presence of everything that you've ever loved and that's ever loved you. You're met by your relatives and your friends, your pets, everything that ever had to do with love is there. Death and is the most sensual experience you'll ever have. And when you cross into the heavens, it is a sin.
And we're back. Sorry, guys. We had a power outage. Yeah, I mean, everything just died. The lights went out. Yeah. The computers crashed. The phone line, we lost our connection through everything went down.
That's pretty much all around the triad, too. So
we've had a lot of wind today, the 30, 35, 40 mile an hour winds because of this nor'easter that's moving through. So it's really been crazy.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Dannion,
we apologize.
You were getting ready.
You had your first show near-death experience.
Exactly.
I guess so. Well.
Welcome to the club, boys.
Well, I guess this would actually be the second. That night it was lightning with Prophet Yahweh. And,
yeah. That was something else.
I would have had to have that one next week.
Yep.
Don't mess with lightning. It's a divine force that has the ability to get your attention a lot quicker than you're ready to have it caught.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us.
So let's go
tell
back
us
to
about heaven.
Heaven, right?
So we're back in the heavens. So there are many mansions and many crystal cities, and there's many places. If you want to manifest stuff, like if you never had a Lincoln or you need a Jaguar, I know that there are places that are there that you can go to create. Because one of the first things that you have to learn to do when you're over there is to slow down how you perceive. Because here things take time. You want something, you set a goal, you set a way to achieve it, and then you work until you achieve that goal, and then the next goal, and then you accomplish what you're after. Over there it's instantaneous. And like I said, mine is the search for knowledge. One of the most intriguing things about roaming the heavens was, how did this work? And where did this all come from, and how did this happen to be this way? And I could conceive of a drop of water, and then as though it were the ocean, I could conceive of the entire ocean and everything in it, and then like every creature that's in the ocean, I could conceive of it. And when you start to think like that, you begin to understand what heaven is like. The mystery is taken out of what life is. and the ability to grow in potential and understanding and to dwell in love and to be able to be a part of love, to feel divinity, to receive divinity, and then to search for ways that it can flow through you. There are colors and sounds that have never been heard here, never been seen here. And I only went to the place where after the Crystal City, and I went through what was, what's made me famous through these years is these visions. I had these visions about, I didn't know they were going to be the future. I didn't understand all of that when it happened. And it was Raymond who really explained it to me, because it was like 4 or 5 years before the first one of the visions came true. And what I did is I wrote all these down in these nifty notebooks, these spiral notebooks like we had in school, and page after page of these boxes of knowledge these beings of light had given me. And they were, well, this might be interesting to you when we were talking earlier about who that being of light was.
Okay.
When I went into this Crystal City, and I was so safe and so comfortable, and I knew that I had access to all knowledge. There was not anything that was hidden from me if I could understand why I wanted to know the answer. And as I would search for these answers to things that had troubled you as a kid, things that you would think about rapidly, it was always intent. It never was what I wanted to know. It was why I wanted to know it that gave me access to it. These 12 beings of light appeared before me. And how you would describe these beings: honor, integrity, greatness, divinity, grace, glory. These kinds of words and the beautiful colors that these beings were in their radiant, silver, shimmering presence. Then there was a 13th being that literally controlled who talked to me next or who transmitted information to me next. And it was not like a commander. It was more brilliant and more beautiful a being than the other 12. So, I can see in how we would relate to those kinds of concepts on the earth in what we look now as the disciples and the Christ consciousness in Christ in this framework. And as you would perceive that, once I had perceived this information, they were sending me back. I didn't really know that they were sending me back because I would have found some place to hide. I would have figured some way to keep from returning. But over there, there is a true identity of who you are as a spiritual being. Not a poor, pitiful human being trying to have a mystical experience, but a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being trying to have a human experience. Because what I believe is this: in order for a rock in the middle of a solar system, spinning around a dwarf star, the one we call our sun, in order for spiritual or divinity to unfold in this physical rock, it has to pass through us. It's the divine architect or God at a certain time and point passes through each of us in our daily lives, either kindness or genius or perspective. And we are here on this earth as vessels by which that light can shine. People say, well, explain it to me a little more simple than that, Dannion. I said, well, think of this. We're not the sun that shines, nor the warmth that enters a room on a hot August day. We're just a means by which the light passes. And this is how I see that world, why we live here, and what's in this world, because we're turning this rock. We're not doing a really good job of it right now, but we're turning this rock into a divine place, like a Garden of Eden, and we're trying to do that. And when I look at it from those points of view, I get a clearer viewpoint of who I am and what I'm doing in this world.
Okay, let's go to the next question I had for you. And why do some people not pass? Why did there all of these tales of ghosts? Do you believe that some spirits are just earthbound, or or what?
Absolutely. No doubt about it. When you first lift out of your body, now this is how it happened to me. The first 2 times I lifted out of my body, the one during the first lightning strike, the second lightning strike, I didn't have a near-death experience. It just knocked me against the wall, and then I hit the window and knocked the entire window frame out into the yard, and I was unconscious for like 45 minutes. It took about 3 months for me to kind of get ungoofy. And then boy, electrocution is a trip.
Bet. A power trip.
Yeah, I mean to tell you, son. You know, you people don't realize that, and now that they study lightning strikes, it's called Karamina medicine. In the Office of Rare Diseases and Disorders, a person struck by lightning has completely different experiences from any other form of electrocution, and we're called a rare disorder because we pass into dimensions. We have phantom pain. We are empathic. We gather a lot of what 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1 through 12, the gifts of the Spirit. We become acclimated to those kinds of things. And a lot of people who are struck by lightning literally go crazy because they have no framework to understand these things that are happening to them. I'm lucky because I got the chance when I had mine. It was in the early days of the Great Exploration by Raymond and Ian Stevenson and Bruce Grayson and Michael Sabom and Melvin Morris, Paul Perry, these people who first began to really look at this phenomena. And I got George Ritchie. I got a chance to be around these people literally on a daily basis.
Now, you know, I love George Ritchie's book, and I've tried to get him on the show. I know he's older now, and I don't think he wants to be bothered. His publisher kind of told me that. But I tell you, that book is just an amazing...
Oh, it's wonderful. And George Ritchie is as cool as you ever want to know a human being to be.
You know, and George talks about the different levels of hell and the different levels of heaven in his book.
Well, there are levels, and it depends on what you achieve over here depends on where you go back over there. Okay, I mean,
so I've got my cardboard box on the streets of gold.
Well, you know, you'd be surprised. Let me tell you this about before we go back to Ghost. You'd be surprised at what we've always been taught what was the right thing to do. As a spiritual being, it's the little tiny things that you see in the panoramic life review that matter the most. It's when you said hello. It's when you opened the door for somebody. It's when you instilled confidence or security. It's when you stopped to watch. I'll tell you something really cool. When you stop to watch a child with a husband and a wife and their child taking its first step. It is the most amazing thing when you get a chance to be that child taking its first step, and the pride that those two parents have when that child begins to take that step, and that you stop and share that joy with them. Now, this is one of the most startling things to me when I had my life review, because I didn't think no more about it. I was still a stupid kid walking, except that I could stop, and as a spiritual being, a big old tough guy was amazed and looking at the pride in those parents. You have to see yourself as a powerful, mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose to comprehend the points of what you've done in life. You may open the door for someone, help them pick up a bag, and walked away without asking anything. It's just that you would do it from your heart. That means more over there than anything else that you do. What we've been educated and taught is the things that we're going to be harmed for are things we're going to be that we call sin, as opposed to the joy, and we've become fear-based as opposed to celebration-based. Well, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of it, and because I've been through it so many times, it's just entertainment value to me.
Daniel, we've got a caller on the line. This is Laura from Kansas. How are you tonight, Laura?
I'm doing fine.
Hi, Laura.
Good.
Hi, Danion. It's a real honor to be able to talk to you.
And the pleasure is mine also.
Thank you. I have read the two books that you've written. I don't know if you've written any other ones since then.
Yeah, I have a new
Probably.
one.
I just haven't kept up with it. The first
Secrets
two.
of the Light. You better start keeping up with it, Laura.
Okay.
I'll put you on restriction, girlfriend.
I guess so. But I just and I saw the TV show, and I've always just been fascinated with near-death experience. Of course, it's really not really near-death. I guess it would be more like death experience.
Well, my first one was a death experience. You know, I was dead. The other two I call near-death experiences, Laura, because I was on life support.
Right.
I mean, you can't call that a death experience. And I'm very, very, straight up about how I look at this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I had one death experience and two near-death experiences.
Right. And wasn't it Raymond Moody that came to your bedside?
Yeah. Don't you hate him for that?
I had the pleasure of talking to him a couple of weeks ago.
I love Raymond. I mean, Raymond is one of the coolest people you'll ever want to know. He's like, he is so brilliant that if you don't really pay attention to his humor, you'll think he's a little off.
Yeah.
But Raymond is so brilliant, and his intellectual capacity to comprehend phenomena, he's one of the rarest persons that you'll ever know, and that is one funny white boy. If you know him like I know him, he could come up with some. I laugh so hard. I like to have a near-death experience just sitting and listening to him for years and years and years.
Have you?
Now, what you were talking about was that you have a fixation with the near-death experience.
I don't know why. I've read every book I can get my hands on about it, and I'm really not sure why that is. But it just seems like that's the most fascinating thing to me.
Well, I think it's this, too, Laura. Let me help with this. We all seek to find a value of our lives. And as we search the universe looking for a value from our religion, institutions, governments, our place in our job, our workplace, our friends, we look for a value of our life. And we search in the intricate part of how you leave this world and go to the next one, and that some people have made it back from that realm. And to better expand your own life, to better comprehend who you are, and to better look at the value of why you live would be one of the reasons why you would do it. I mean, that's why the fixation would be there. But the value of your life is, like I said earlier, if God couldn't come today and God sent you, how much love did you put in the world today? How many people did you laugh at or laugh with or smile at or hope for or believe in or trust in? Because if you look at yourself from that point, that you are someone else's support system, that your actions and your smile will cause them to react and smile, and we have begun to generate life's purpose and identity, then I think that might contribute to why you do this search.
That's a good point. Well, it was wonderful talking to you. Good luck.
Well, did anybody tell you today that they loved you very much?
Not sure.
Okay, well, let's be sure. I love you very much, and I appreciate you calling this day, and I need you to pass that along to someone. Now, let me ask you this, too, Laura.
Okay.
Do you have a friend? She's like a lady that she's like near your age, and that has it's like a name like Cindy.
Yes, that's my best friend.
Oh wow,
Sandy.
that was crazy. Okay.
Okay, well let me tell you something. She's going through a tough time.
I know.
She's trying to make the right decision at the right time. Okay? Now, don't get in the middle of it because it's got to be her decision. But just listen when she's talking because she's trying to find a way to bounce stuff off. But I make sure, Laurie, that you don't get an opinion. Be a living, listening, loving presence. And don't get in the middle of that mess, but be a listening friend.
Okay. That's very good advice.
Just looking out for you, sugar.
Okay, thank you.
Love you with all my heart, and thanks for calling us.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Laura.
All right, we've got...
Every Halloween at midnight, the devil simultaneously appears in two places. The high plains of India, in a quiet cemetery in Kansas. It's November 2nd, the Day of the Dead. Two federal marshals report to the small town of Shinbone, Kansas, moments after a tornado warning, to transport a prisoner with no past, no identity. He is known only as Sin Jin Smith. Starring Roddy Piper, Richard Tyson, Jonathan Davis, Kevin Gage, Gary Casper, John Philbin, Billy Duffy, Charles Cypers, and Eileen Dietz. Check out the movie that critics are calling one of 2007's most anticipated horror films by visiting www.sinjinsmith.com. That's www.sin-jinsmyth.com. St. Jin Smith is a Snapkick Productions film, written and directed by Ethan Detmeyer. Coming soon to a theater near you.
And we're back. World of the Unexplained. Dannion Brinkley, guys. The numbers are 1-877-722-7382, 1-877-SCARE-YOU2, and the local number is 336-996-1596. And right now we got a caller. It's Dale from New York. Dale, how you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Fantastic.
Hi, Dale.
Hey, Dannion. I don't know if you remember me, but I spoke to you back in September when you were in Nevada on the phone.
Oh, hey, Dale.
Hey.
How are you doing?
To talk to you again tonight on the program here. I'd like to tell you a little quick story, if you don't mind.
I certainly don't mind.
Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, at work, I've been moved to a new area of work, and there's some new people I met. And one of these guys, he has the ability to make people laugh. He's good. But a couple of weeks ago, when we were alone, he told me that he expected to die soon. And for whatever reason, you know, when people tell you that, most people go, wow, oh my God, no. But I didn't feel any negative thing about it. The way he was telling me, it was like he knew it was getting time for him to go. But he didn't tell his wife about it because she'd get all crazy and be upset, you know. But he pretty much told me, yeah, I think I'm going to be leaving soon. And I don't know why at that time I felt pretty relaxed with what he was telling me because I seemed to get it. Does it make any sense, Dannion?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you laugh at his stuff, he feels comfortable with you. The fact that all of a sudden that what he's really telling you, Dale, is this brilliant sense of humor is masking something. You know, this sense of humor comes about as a protective mechanism, and he senses that he can trust you. He also senses that you have a certain innate nature that you're not afraid of death, or you're not afraid to explore it. So what he's telling you is, first, he has a secret. There's something in his past that's really worrying him. Number two, he probably knows that there's something wrong with him that he's not checking out. And I think it has to do with his prostate. Oh. And I think that he's starting to pay attention to, I hate to say it, like frequent urination, but that's what he's doing. And he's turning to find a friend. And you're comfortable with it. That was you as a loving being, being comfortable that you didn't react, you didn't go, oh my gosh, you didn't laugh, and that feeling was you feeling comfortable with him. I mean, was you feeling him being comfortable with you. The next step is to ask him and say, you know, the other day when you were talking about it, just as calm, Dale, as you can, do you have your business in order? And is there anything I can do? And then you stop and you don't say another word. Because what he's doing, he needs support in being able to make the right decisions about either his health care, taking care of himself, and he's afraid of something from his past that's keeping him from taking care of himself right now. But what you do is you want to ask him, is his business in order, since he told you that, because he needs someone to confide in and someone to trust, Dale.
Okay?
Wow.
Well, I promised him I wouldn't tell anybody.
Well, you didn't tell anybody.
Oh, just everybody that's listening to it. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I would never betray. You know me, Dale. I would never betray someone, and this becomes your chance. This is a growth period for you and for this person. It's a growth period because you get to have. There's a relationship that you never really had between you and your family, quote unquote, because they didn't quite understand the wonderment of you. And this is a chance for both of you to get a chance to have a appreciation for each other. You should be very, very proud in your deepest spiritual self that this person has turned to you, because if there's anybody who can help him, it's you.
Well, I'll do what I can.
And let me know. Go to Twin Souls, go to Dannion, and just put Dannion requested when you go to Twin Souls, and let me know what's going on.
I will.
Let's help this person, Dale.
One other question.
Okay.
You remember, I don't know, you told me I need to get involved with hospice.
You just got involved with it. What do you think you're talking to me about?
Okay. Well, my next-door neighbor's father passed away recently, and I did what I could for him.
Which is probably magnificent.
And I'm just wondering if there's anything I could pass on to him. I don't know.
Well, here's what you can do. Now, listen to me, Dale.
Yeah.
When someone loses somebody, the impact doesn't hit them for 2 weeks. No matter what they think they're doing, no matter what, it takes about 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. And then it starts to, after the exhaustion and after the taking care of and after the caregiver burnout, they really start to process it in their own lives. And then about 4 months later, it really impacts on them. Okay? Your presence and letting them talk, a listening, loving presence. Remember, if God couldn't come today and God sent you in the life you just reviewed, what difference did God make? Well, it's to listen. It's not to have any opinion. It's to go and listen. So you count if it's been 3 or 4 weeks, and in that 3rd to 4th week, I don't care if they slam the door in your face every day, you go over there and check and listen. And then in 4 months, you do it again.
Well,
and remember, when I told you needed to get into hospice when we were having our consultation, I knew this was going to happen. Okay, and now you've just gone through this with your next-door neighbor, and now another person at work has turned to you. So I was pretty accurate, if you ask me.
Am I going to start seeing a pattern of this stuff?
Sorry. They will find you. And the more you know about it, like listening to this show, this is the thing that you can do. Tell them to listen to this show.
I have.
Yeah, invite them into this world where these subjects are going to be explored. We're not going to be afraid. We're going to be bold, powerful, mighty spiritual beings. We're not going to be afraid. We're going to explore this subject matter because the biggest crisis in the world is people don't know how to deal with it. And I see this every single day of my life. That's why I wanted to be on this show tonight. Now, this is the opportunity. And come over, get them, go over and sit with them as they listen. Don't leave them alone while they do it. Say, listen, I got some lunatics down in North Carolina.
Right.
And
he knows as well.
They're not afraid to open it up and look at it.
Right. And I do respect you guys for that.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Trent and Jay and, hey, how's Chuck?
he's hanging out.
Yeah, he's being shifty as always.
That agnostic cowboy.
Well, thanks a lot, Danny, and I appreciate it.
Love with all my heart, Dale. And, hey, here's what to do. Remember this. This guy you're talking to, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross put it best. First, you've got anger. You've got denial. Then you have anger. Then you have bargaining. And then you have acceptance.
Well, the one thing is he didn't seem too upset about it.
Well, it's because he's making his decision. He knows something. This is now, remember what I said, from his childhood, it's creating a way that's blocking him from being able to take care of himself. What you want to do is just listen, knowing what I know, knowing what we know, is that he has a issue being from childhood that's keeping him from paying attention. But I think it's his prostate.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Dale. We appreciate the call.
Okay.
Bye, Dale.
All right.
All right. Phone lines are open again, 877-SCARE-U2. That's 877-722-7382, or locally 336-996-1596. Let's get back to Ghost, Dannion.
Yeah, earthbound.
Okay, when I first lifted out of my body, that blue-gray place that I was describing where you're still attached to the physical world, but you're not quite going down the tunnel. Well, I thought I was the only person there. And, most of my life I've always thought it was all about me anyway, so there was nothing new about that. And then the second time, I thought I was the only one there. But then the third time, doing the brain surgery, when I was in this blue-gray place, and it was brain surgery, so when I was in this blue-gray place, for the first time the first two times I hovered above my body. The third time I stood next to it, and I was watching them drill these holes in my head. And in this blue-gray place where I always thought it was just me, I started to hear other conversations and other voices. Now, I'd heard a ghost, and I hear these ghost stories and all this kind of stuff, but I really didn't have a grip on it because I'd never met a ghost. Okay, but after this third experience, there is a whole world between this world, the very next world, and then down the tunnel. I think Catholics call it purgatory. Hindus call it doja. And then there's dharma. There's like 20 different names for this throughout cultures. It's the place where people don't really have to go down the tunnel. You have free will as a spiritual being. And this place could expand to almost where there is hell. Because I kept seeing veterans, people who had served in combat, in every kind of uniform. I mean, some going back 1,000 years or over 1,000 years. And they were trapped. They couldn't let go. They couldn't forgive themselves. They kept a lot of guys that were in prisons or camps. Prisoners of war that were so mistreated, and they died in such agony. They couldn't let go. There were people there who were as spiteful of people as you would ever want to be around, and they kept repeating the same kind of spitefulness. It was like it was like Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. They're still going through these same levels. And I stayed there longer than I stayed in the first two times, and I was there studying this. I figured that was probably going to be the next place I went if I didn't straighten up again. But nonetheless, that there is this level of existence, and it's where people who are earthbound are. And then there were people who were abused as children. A lot of priests and pastors and stuff had abused these people, and it was amazing to me that they were not going to go down that tunnel to the light to be abused for eternity. There were women who had allowed in the name of love that they have lost so much of their dignity by putting up with us as men, as opposed to standing up for the value of their love and what they thought they should have equal to the value placed upon it by the person that they thought they loved. And now, then all of a sudden, I had a place where ghosts and the forces of quote-unquote evil could manifest into this world. The other thing is like alcohol consumption, that you could see people who, and this is weird to me, but it was as though they could smell alcohol. And they would go to places where people consume maybe too much alcohol. And in the consumption of it, in the consciousness of this world and that world, it was easier for them to go from that world of the blue-gray place into this world, like almost possessions.
Well, yeah, that's, Dr. Ritchie mentions that in his book, actually.
Well, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, it's very unique.
Well, it means it's this blue-gray place, and so that's why I created the Twilight Brigade. I came back and created the Twilight Brigade, which is the largest end-of-life care volunteer program for dying veterans in American history. I have 6,000 people at the bedside, and we have over 500,000 hours because I saw veterans in the end of life, and what reinforces that is 70% of all veterans who've ever served in combat, if left alone in end of life, will fight a war. It's called post-traumatic stress syndrome. But by being there at that bedside with that person and using the techniques that I've learned from making that journey myself and being at the bedside for all the years I've been at it, then I can help a person not get trapped there. That's why I call it the Twilight Brigade. And I sincerely believe that I have people that I've helped cross from this world to the next who reach their hand out to pull those who are leaving now across that veil. We have 60,000 veterans dying every 30 days, and we have them coming home now in horrendous situations because they're alive, whereas heretofore they would have never made it to come home. But we can, the advancements in medicine have become so remarkable that a person who should have never lasted lasts. And so this situation is coming, and that anguish and frustration that goes on inside of these people will surely trap them as they make their journey to the other side. I took it on as my mission in life, to be able to help not clog up that place between here and the tunnel.
No, yeah, Danion, do you heard about this terrible shooting today?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Crazy.
You know, they still haven't identified the gunman yet. And my gut feeling here, and I could be wrong, but I'm going to say it anyway. My gut feeling here is that this student was a Muslim. That's just my gut feeling. I don't know. I could be wrong, and we'll see next week if I am. That's my gut feeling.
I think he was a jilted lover.
What do you think, Danion?
Well, the guy on the airplane next to me flying in was from that town. He was from there.
Oh, man.
And it was a kid. It was a kid who had been jilted. He went in. He was in a class with this girl. He went in. His wife was telling this. He went in. His girlfriend had jilted him, and somebody had told him about this. He went and caught him and her in her dorm room, and he shot them, and then he went over to the class to get the people who were his friends who didn't tell him about it.
Oh, my gosh.
And then he just unloaded on everybody in the room.
Wow.
Some kind of act of twisted vengeance. Maybe.
Well, you know, everybody knows but you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody knows but you. And then everybody, when you feel that kind of humiliation, and then you go and catch her, she's not in class and everybody knows it, and then you catch her with him, you know, you go crazy.
Now, what kind of powers did you come back with, Daniel?
Yeah.
Well, what happens is, you know, I'm very empathic, just like me helping Dale. You know, I knew what was going to happen, and so I said, Dale, you need to start looking at hospice and paying attention because this is a great man. Dale is one of those blessed beings that's calm and peaceful and quiet and loving. And that art form was going to be definitely needed in where he was. So I told him, I have a way of listening to a person and their voice. You know, you hear the stories of everybody has a mantra, everybody has a certain frequency. The Hebrews, the letters of your name in ancient Kabbalah, Greek, and how that matches. I can listen. And because I'm open, you know, we always have just tunnel vision. I don't mean the tunnel to the end of the light.
Yeah.
Once you've ever been struck by lightning, then it rewires your circuitry. You have an ability to see beyond what the five senses give you. And I also relate it to 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 1 through 12, the gifts of the Spirit. I want to help people. I want to help them not be afraid of death. I want them to be able to embrace that another spiritual being goes home. And I want them to have closure. I want to be able to close the door so you know you'll see them again. And in that you know because a lot of times we always figure out if we could have done more, or we blame each other, or we worry about our parents or our friends, wondering if they're okay. And I want that to happen. I want to be able to release that, and so that that being travels to the other side. And I think because of that, and being struck by lightning, I can perceive a lot of things that go on around me. I see things that are future events because my consciousness will hear a sentence and structure a year from now based on hearing that sentence. And there's nothing I can do about it. You know, if you saw the movie, you know that I can be sitting in a car and look across, and all of a sudden I'm listening to those person's thoughts. I couldn't go in restaurants. After the lightning in the early years, I couldn't go around or near anybody because I could hear what they were thinking about. Now, because I'm more into this world than I was back then, it only comes like if it's an intense feeling. But all my friends know that as soon as they start talking about me, I call them on the phone. I do it to them all the time. And I have some really
that's just creepy.
Retentive great friends.
That's just creepy.
You know, oh God, they don't even. There's no such thing as these kinds of powers, but they've run out of circumstances, coincidences, all of that. But it's just that I can feel it. But we all have these gifts.
It's just tapping into them?
You tap into them by being of service. A spiritual being, a great, powerful, and mighty spiritual being with dignity, direction, and purpose, only has one value in life, and that's to serve. To go find something that you care so much about that when you wake up in the morning and as you get dressed and you get ready to go out, equal to your job and everything else, it has the same value. I get up in the morning, and my heart knows this, that as I get dressed and I go forth and my wife and kids and job and all that garbage, no, excuse me, they're not garbage, but it's a little complicated at times, but that somebody won't die alone because I got up today.
Yeah.
And in those two things, when I look at the mirror, I can get through the day.
No, let me ask you a question, Dannion. Were you were raised in the South, as were all of us actually here at this radio show. Were you raised a Christian?
Yeah, a Methodist.
And so you were born again I'm assuming you were probably baptized, you prayed the prayer, you did all the...
Yeah, I went through those steps.
Okay. I'm building on something here, guys.
We know.
Yeah, I know y'all know. But now you believe that after you've seen the other side, that it doesn't really, and studying the NDEs as you have, you believe that it doesn't really matter whether or not you know Christ at all, because it just matters since everyone's got their own religious belief structures. Like someone in China maybe who may be of a different faith and not a Christian faith is going to have the same experience as a Christian or as a Buddhist or as a. Am I right in saying that?
Well, let's put it in this framework.
Okay.
In the schism between the church where the Christians became Protestants as opposed to Catholics, when Luther tacked the 96 Theses on the church door, the argument was two things: that you could go to heaven you could only get to heaven through faith and belief in Jesus Christ, or you could get there by deeds. That's where the schism. Yeah. I believe that a divine understanding of yourself and the deeds that you perform will help you achieve that goal. And I can't just let it be that without Jesus you can't get there, because that means that everybody that never knew Jesus before and everybody who has never heard of Jesus since then are not condemned.
Well, I don't think that people that haven't heard of Jesus are condemned. I think the people that have ignored it may possibly be. I believe in a once saved, always saved mentality, and I also believe that I guess the next question I have for you is, how do you know that the reason that you're seeing all these great things and experiencing all these things doesn't happen to do because at one time you were a Christian and now you're just seeing heaven?
Well,
because of your belief in Christ.
Again?
Okay. How do you know that the reason that the experience that you had when you had your when you had your NDE, how do you know that those experiences didn't happen to you because at one time in your life you were saved and you did follow the Christian dogma?
Okay, I can't say that that's not the reason.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking this is because I know George Ritchie in his book, he describes seeing Christ. He describes Christ showing him the different levels of heaven and hell and all these things. And you describe a lot of these the same way that Dr. Ritchie has. And that was just what I was asking.
No, I support it. I can't say that that's not true. I mean, I can't. I think that as the years have passed and so many times that I've tried to understand it, that I have broadened my perspective, and I can't say that what you just said is not true. It could be because of being baptized, and it could be because of going through that, and the fact that I can relate to the 12 beings, and then the 13th being who appeared, it would be the same as the disciples, and the structure that's those numbers that are uniquely through the Old Testament. But you can bet, guys, I have looked at every religious context trying to find the explanation.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, Dannion, I hate to do this to you. We're going to take our last break of the night.
Last half hour, guys. World of the Unexplained. Dannion Brinkley. Come on, call 1-877-722-7382 or 1-877-SCARE-YOU2. The local numbers. Yeah, the local number is 336-996-1596. And
you have to admit that was creepy though when Dannion said he didn't say Sandy, but he said Cindy or something like that. It was really close.
Just ridiculously close.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, I was also right about what was going on, too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy.
We're not going to let you off the hook.
Listen, it's not crazy. Think about this. Everybody, you can drive down the road and turn on unless you have Sirius, but you put up your radio antenna. You put up your radio antenna, and you can listen to music all day, and I swear to God, James Brown's not in that little box in front of your steering wheel.
He's not? Oh, my God.
What?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Come as a surprise to you, but they have not miniaturized him. If you can look at how a radio wave transmits, if you can look at how a radio wave, and think of this, when you start looking at a cell phone, when you start looking at the multiverse, when one of the greatest things I think about spirituality is quantum physics. And when you look at quantum physics, there's a theory called the multiverse theory, which means that you are operating in a minimum of 11 separate universes at the same time. And when I heard this theory, it all of a sudden made me realize why I was so tired when I woke up every morning.
Maybe so.
Because I'd been operating in these multi-worlds. But think about this. When you look at the multiverse theory, which means multiple universe theory, and people say, well, what does that have to do with anything? That's some crackpot's thoughts. But what has that brought us into existence? The cell phone, the DVD, the CD, the PC. And when you start to think about that on an average day in a major city, you have 80,000 cell phone phone calls passing through you. You can measure it on the outside, you can measure it inside your liver, and you can measure it leaving. So when you start to realize that in these multiple dimensions of reality, that energy can be transmitted and that the brain now can be mapped in its thought processes and it generates an electrical charge in transmission, and that you have these paralleling universes, it's quite easy looking at radio waves and microwaves and frequency transmission modulation like you have with a cell phone to believe that people can perceive other people's thoughts. And mine was to help Sandy. It was when I was talking to Lori, and she as a friend, and talking to her, I perceive it. It comes to me in my consciousness. And because she cared enough about the structure of the show and the people that she was listening, and her heart was open to talk, then I could feel who needed her help. And this was her friend. Now, in the multi-universe theory, this can be easily explained in how and what happened. There is a quantum dynamic theory that explains how this works. People used to say, well, I don't believe any of this stuff. I said, well, let me tell you something. I don't give a crap. I have a harder time trying to figure out how I do it. I worry about more how I do it than I worry about whether you believe it or not, because it's happening to me, chump. You can talk about it, you can talk about it, but when the lights go down and the curtain goes down and the lights go off, you can go somewhere. I got to stay here. And so, believe me, every single one of us has the potential to perceive. We must perceive for the good. How can I best be of service? I have honed this skill of perception. I'm a tough negotiator in a contract. I'm tough because if you want to sit down and negotiate across from me, come on down because I'm tough. And I'll hone this skill at the bedside. When I don't have time to explore the life of an 80-year-old person and all the inner dynamics that go on between the family, and I hate to tell you guys this, but America's a little dysfunctional.
No.
I don't want this to come as a shock to you now.
Imagine.
Good thing we're sitting down.
But I don't have time to get it done. I don't have time to explore the history. I got to get it done. So I have to move into another level of consciousness. I am so easily believe that these level of consciousnesses exist because I've traveled through them. They're not anything that are out of the context to me. I've traveled through these levels of consciousness. So I expand to perceive so that I can understand the dynamic of the person leaving and the people who stay. Well, once I leave the bedside, it doesn't turn off. I can listen to a person's voice, and I can listen to the verb, because the verb tells me both intent and where action is. And as I listen to it, I see like a little movie. It's like a trailer, like going to a theater, and you see trailers before you watch the movie that's coming on. And I see these all the time, just in these conversations that we've been having.
Now, I want to stop you. I want to stop you for just a second.
Okay.
Speaking of trailers, I have to do a blatant self-promotional plug. And guys, if you go to www.myspace.com/talkingtall, you can see the film that Trent and I are in. It's a film based on talk radio. There's a trailer for that up on the MySpace site. That site again is www.myspace.com/talkingtall. And also go to Danion's site. That's www.dannion.com. That's DANNION. Do you have another site as well, Dannion?
The Twilight Brigade.
Okay.
I always tell people I have a split personality, but both of them are public.
Oh, good.
What are the movie trailers that is known as World of the Unexplained? What are you seeing there, huh, Danion?
Well, I see this show has enormous potential. I see potential because you're looking at the unexplained, and you're looking at paranormal from a spiritual-based perspective. No one's doing this, okay? And by driving...
Well, they are. They're just a bunch of liberals, but we don't...
Well, but I don't really think that they are. Okay. I mean, because you're holding a certain principle to build it around, pro or con, and you don't stop anyone from putting their viewpoint out and going to, heretic, too much heresy in it.
Well, sometimes it depends on who the guest is, really, and what their message is. You have a really good message, so we generally got our gloves on.
Have me on, and I'll be really bad. I'll take you guys on.
Oh man,
man, it's kind of like that show I did with Verado where he called, and that got really insane.
That was pretty rough.
And I love Verado to death. He's a great guy. I mean,
he's bizarre.
Well, what is it usually like, though, guys? Because my message is easy. I don't want people to be afraid of death, and there is a life after this one. And any way you want to structure it that best serves you, all you have to remember about what I talked about was the Panoramic Life Review, because I already know I'm going to win. I know that you will. I know that there is the odds, the last time I checked, there is 100% chance you will be leaving this world.
Yeah, you're right. One way or the other.
You had mentioned on the break, actually, that you had dirt on me and Scott, even though we sound a lot alike. I mean, is that...
Well, it's just things that I perceive. It's things that I perceive because you sound a lot alike, but you have complete different... You have a lot of the same values, but you have perspectives that are different. And I was trying, because you sound so much alike, I have to watch the trailers to see which one of you are talking. But you know what? You're good people.
Well, thank you. And we feel you're a good person, too.
From my heart to you.
And we love you, too, Danion. We just want to
I love you more.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Don't you love what we fight about?
I see. I see what you're saying. And that's, and that's just a wonderful thing. People do need to hear that more. People need to... They need to feel part of something.
They need to hear it.
Yeah, they do. They do, and I think it's a wonderful thing.
I've really enjoyed this. Now, tell me now that everybody knows where my website is and the new book, and then
what's the name of that new book, real quick?
It's called The Secrets of the Light.
Okay, and that's available now. Where's the best place for people to pick that up?
Dannion.com.
Okay, Dannion.com.
Buy it from me, because that supports Compassion in Action, the Twilight Brigade.
Awesome.
Now, let's see, hot news. People Magazine is doing a 3-page spread on me, and I think it comes out next week.
Oh, we timed this interview just right.
Yeah, we did.
So there's a 3-page spread in People Magazine. There's a new movie. I think I have an Oprah coming up.
Oh wow, that's wonderful. Now who's going to be you in the new film?
I'm gonna try to get Eric to do it again.
Okay, he did a great job last time. He's mean.
He's from Smyrna, Georgia.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I've been through Smyrna. Yeah, I went to law school in Florida.
Yeah, see, he's
Smyrna.
us.
Yeah.
And so he had my mannerisms down. He had my mannerisms down, and he was light compared to how I was, guys.
Oh my gosh!
Good God!
Don't even think for a minute that I would not pound you into the dirt.
If you guys haven't seen this movie and you're listening, please go and pick this up. I think my dad actually gave me a copy of this, but they've got it at Blockbuster, I believe, still.
It's anywhere. And Lifetime, you can look up Lifetime original movies. It's a Lifetime.
Okay.
Lifetime airs it probably once or twice a month.
It is a great film.
Well, I was proud of it. I looked at it, and yes, I had to face a lot about myself. But you know what? It doesn't hurt to face yourself when you're only trying to grow. I think that what your show is the potential for people to open up and listen. And just like the conspiracy business, I mean, I like conspiracies.
Well, we've been told that there's a possibility of us moving this show to another studio in another city. How do you feel about that?
I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't?
Mm. I wouldn't, because I can tell you what the motive is.
Okay.
The motive is someone controlling your content.
Oh, that's never going to happen.
Well, just listen to me. Just listen, then. I'm just trying to be,
I'll sue them.
once money has a strange way, and public relations and PR has a strange way. I don't want anything to happen to this, but I can tell you this: an income stream is developing in itself, and it's a spiritual source of an income stream to support this programming.
Well,
So now let me tell you about just toward the end of June, June 24th, 25th, and 26th. Be on your P's and Q's. Pay very close attention to the conversations that people have with you there, because it'll be a sponsor. And these will be good people, no matter what they sound like. They'll be good people. They just won't quite know how to negotiate with you about being supportive.
Well, I'm going to call you on that contract, Daniel.
Yeah, I would.
All right.
As soon as you start talking to them, I'll certainly help you.
Yeah, we'd like you in our corner.
Oh, definitely.
This kind of programming is really sincerely needed. It's needed because people in the Christian world, and we who live in that world, we got to find the answers. The world is in the end times. This is where we are.
I have said this a million times, haven't I, guys? Huh?
We are there. We are in Babylon.
Yes, we are. Amen,
okay,
brother.
We're in Babylon. Here's where we are. We are about where the Fertile Crescent, where Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and the Euphrates are. We are talking about the worldwide war on terror.
Yeah.
Now, that's World War III.
Yeah, it is.
We're in the early years of this.
And if we invade Iran, it's gonna get crazy.
Yeah,
We're going to invade Iran.
I have a fear that we are.
We're going to. There's nothing going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it. And what the craziest part about it is the Iranians are going to take the first two hits. They're going to take it. Shias, when you got to look at Islam, Shia, you got Shias, Sunnis, and Wahhabis. A Shia is like a Mormon. They're a cult. Now Mormons have moved more out into the world of our present day Christianity and religion. But the Shias are they're a cult.
They're still waiting for that 12th Imam, right?
Well, that's who they're waiting for. Okay? And the Muslims, the Sunnis, there's 1.3 billion Muslims. Okay? Well, 1.1 billion of them are Sunnis. Now, who do you think's going to win that fight?
I have an idea.
Okay, and the Shias, they've been fighting since 632.
Oh, I know.
And they're going to keep on fighting. And what we're doing is we're positioning ourselves in a way to create this worldwide global war. And exactly what it is, look at where Israel and the Iranians, when the Hebrews were freed from Babylon under Nebuchadnezzar, guess who it was who forced their freedom? Cyrus, the king of Persia. So all of what was our eternal history of development of Western man is now being rewritten before our very eyes, just like it said. And when you look at this Mayan calendar business and the fact that we move to the galactic center and the fact that every 26,000 years we rotate to the precessional of the equinox, and we're in the last 7 years of a 26,000-year period, the other thing that you look at is everybody's calendar, the Hebrew calendar, the Mayan calendar, the Chinese calendar, all began roughly 3,114 years ago. There is within 4 or 5 years, everybody's calendar started. And these calendars process, and the Mayans worked backwards. It didn't move into the future. It moved toward the end. And this period of November the 22nd, 2012, as the end of a calendar, but it's the beginning of a new era. And as we watch this all unfold, it's pretty amazing that now the global warming issue, a way that the earth has to unite and the people have to unite, the beginning of it, and to watch all this unfold, I would miss being at this particular stage of the conscious of the earth, of our spiritual selves, our emotional selves, our mental selves, maybe so much our physical self. But I would miss this time, because if there ever was going to be a perfect storm for that great event that we all seek to have happen, there is no greater time than now for it to occur.
Wow.
Well, you let's see, we're rounding up to the end of the show,
so
about
it's
3
minutes. I'll give you the last word.
Oh,
go ahead, Trent. I'm sorry.
That's all right. Sorry, Vincent. Go ahead. You got the point across.
Okay. Dannion?
Oh, well, my last words, I love you very much.
Well, thank you.
I can't wait for the end of time, and I want Christ to get back here and stir some stuff up.
All right. Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah, I can't wait. You know, I think it's exciting. I think that this is the time for all of us to take a really good look at who we are, and are we a part of the problem, or are we a part of the solution? And what conclusion that you come to, that you act on that. You act on it in ways. The other thing that I ask people to do is to go down and visit a veteran. Go to a VA or a nursing home. Go to help look at veterans. These are the people who gave us this right to fight for our freedom. There's 60,000 of them passing from this earth every 30 days, and maybe, just maybe, they might need to know that you cared about their sacrifice. Maybe they might need to know that you care about those who are coming home. there is a lot of ladies with children whose husbands are coming home from Afghanistan and Iraq that need a break. They're taking care of their husbands, trying to raise the children, and fight the government for benefits. They might need to have somebody sit with that young man or that young woman and to sit with them so that they can go get their hair fixed or maybe drink some liquor. I mean, whatever it takes to get away from what is called compassionate fatigue or caregiver burnout. And these are our neighbors and our friends. And I beg everybody, please, don't just sit around and talk about it. Go help and support these people, because they are something before they were soldiers and there's something after they're soldiers. They're Americans. They're our brothers and sisters, our neighbors, and our friends.
Wow.
Wow, that's pretty
Great
powerful.
message. Well, Dannion, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us tonight.
A great pleasure.
And guys, thank you for being there, and all of you who are making this show possible. And everybody who's listening tonight, get at least 2 friends to tune in and listen to this show. They need support, and they need us, and we need them to keep spreading consciousness.
All right. Thank you so much, Dannion. You have a great night.
My brothers. And remember, I love you very much.
We love you as well, sir.
Too.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
And that was Dannion Brinkley. Wow. That's amazing stuff.
Really,
dude.
really heavy, you know?
That was pretty cool.
I was very emotionally charged somehow, you know? Probably one of the...
that was one of the better interviews we've had in a long time.
I mean, that guy's a real...
It was definitely better than last week.
Thanks, Scott.
Oh, I said it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You did, didn't you?
I'm sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, Scott. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I was just betting that this guy was an Islamo-fascist that mowed down the kids at school.
All, man. That's never how it goes down. It's always somebody who's really hurt and upset, and they hate life, and they want to strike back and destroy themselves in the same process. You know, that's really what it comes down to. It's not some. I mean,
it sounds like you understand that way too much, dude.
Yeah, well, I mean,
watch out when Trent comes with a gun when the guns come to town.
I'd use a sword. Anyway.
Oh, that's even better. Hope I don't ever make you mad.
I'm just kidding. But I mean, no, that's really. I mean, really, when you get down to it, I mean, all the people who explode like this is really what they're going at it. I mean, there's very little terrorist or religious aspect in it, you know. Yeah, especially when it comes to educational systems and schools like that. You know, that's just my opinion.
Anyway, I think Dannion had some good stuff to say, though. I really
think he did. He does some pretty noble work.
And he was honest about it. I asked him, could this be because you were, born again at one point in time, and then this is what you're seeing because of that? And he said, you know what? I don't know. Maybe it is.
That's totally a possibility.
I mean, he didn't just throw me off like some people would say. Oh no, I know that's not it because of you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, he totally said, I don't know. Maybe you're right.
Maybe so. I mean. Really, when you're talking about an NDE, I mean, you're dealing with a lot of
variables, a lot of
variables,
that you
don't
know.
Of mystery.
Yeah,
it's like
well, listen,
unexplained.
Guys, I want to plug this one more time. I want you all to go check this out: www.myspace.com/talkingtall, because I want you guys to see this trailer that features Trent and I and Verado and Joshua and a bunch of other people in it. But check this trailer out and go and make him your friend on MySpace because the movie is trying to get a little underground internet
buzz.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. And we need that because it's going to be showing again in Asheville, North Carolina. I think in May. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so.
At the Asheville Pizza and Brewing Company. Chuck, D, you guys should come out this time.
It's a fun place,
since you skated out on us last time, jerks.
Skaters. bunch of skaters.
Posers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now let's talk about Out of Darkness, too. Guys, we got to sell some tickets by the end of this month, or we're not going to be able to have this thing, okay?
Come to the 11th hour, guys.
And it looks like we ain't going to be able to have this thing, okay? So buy your tickets now. If you haven't bought a ticket yet, buy them. I know I told some people that, I think, John, I told you that I was going to draw a name tonight. I'm lying. I'm going to wait until next week because it don't matter who gets the free ticket if we haven't sold anymore. So because then we won't have it anyway. But everybody that bought a ticket, thank you so much. But we need to sell a lot more. So Yeah, buy a ticket, buy one for your friend, or have your friend
come in
hit your
groups.
back, whatever. Yeah, come in groups. It's more fun on a group field trip kind of thing.
Just like
pile into a van or an SUV.
Yeah, road trip.
Off.
Come on, you know those are fun.
Oh yeah, totally, man. You don't have to buy a plane ticket. I'll jump in a big car.
See the Great
truck,
American Highway.
Boat, whatever. Yeah,
boat.
Yeah, I don't know where they're coming from.
Maybe not a boat, Scott.
Maybe they're in the UK, man. They're getting the
Oh,
boat.
well, yeah.
I mean, I don't know. But anywhere,
right.
come on out, guys, and check these things out because we really need to sell these things. It'll repeat, I think. Yeah,
it does.
So we need to sell more tickets. We're in the teens now, but we've got to sell this stuff to actually have this thing. I mean, we really want to have it.
Yeah.
June the 9th, 2007.
We want it.
In Greensboro, North Carolina. John Zaffis, Dr. Al Prophet, me and the Wotu gang, Laura from Full Moon Radio, and I think Sandy might be joining her. Terry Bain, author of Actual Factual Dracula. I did want to extend our condolences to her right now. She's going through some tough times. Her mother's in the hospital. Anyway, that's why we put Danion in her slot tonight, and we're going to bring her back soon. And I know I've been real lazy as far as getting the website updated, but that's going to come. Trent's produced yet another wonderful newsletter, and I just haven't had a chance to get it out to you yet either, but that's my fault this time, not his. So I guess that's it for this week. Next week, we've got, who do we have next week? Linda, who is it? Linda Alice Dewey?
Yeah,
Aaron's Crossing.
Yeah.
So until then, guys,
story.
Yeah, this is Jay Scott. You're only JD, DJ, Esquire, whatever. I got to get a new tagline.
Yeah. This is Trent Lackey. We're coming to you from Kerrsville, North Carolina, where Scott and I, who sound a lot alike, still yet talk about very big things in this small little North Carolina town.
Mr. Chuck Browder.
We out!
At least we fixed the phone line.
Yes, sir.